All right, thank you everybody. It's great to be here and thanks for the opportunity to speak, talking about Larvotto resources today. We've just moved into our second year of operation, and late last year we purchased the Hillgrove Gold Antimony project, and that'll be the focus of the talk today, but we will touch on some of our other projects. Quickly on the corporate side, we have four major project areas. Hillgrove, New South Wales, as I say, just recently purchased a huge area in Queensland, 1,000 square kilometres on copper gold. Air, WA, which is prospective for more things than I can talk about. I've never worked on a bit of ground that's prospective for so many things. Has a very interesting rare earth project on at the moment. And North Island, New Zealand, the Awakuri Gold Project, which is an advanced project that we've got there. We did a capital raise late last year to purchase the Hillgrove operation. Currently have 223 million shares out there and a market cap of somewhere between 10 and 15, depending on the time of day. Board of Directors, Mark Tomlinson, our chairman, sitting in the room, investment banker and corporate financier. Myself, geologist, worked in and out of many countries, mainly on development and building projects, and in the high ski staples on the finance side. But mainly here to talk about Hillgrove today. It's 1.4 million ounces at 6.1 grams per tonne gold equivalent. So it's a very good initial resource. It's a very good grade. It's a very advanced project, and we look forward to having this project up and running in the very near term. Looking at that, of that 1.4 million ounces, 65% of that is measured and indicated, so that's available to move into reserve, and we're working on our reserves now, the initial reserves for the project that we put out. The deposit itself is in the top 10 antimony projects in the world, and it's the largest one in Australia. So it's a world-class antimony project in its own right, antimony being a critical metal, and it's nearly an all-time record price at the moment. There's a lot of underground infrastructure in place. There's 15 kilometres of underground development ready to go. We have an operational processing plant there. We will increase the capacity of that as part of this project, but that plant did run in 2023, so it's in very good condition. Needs a bit of tweaking to do what we want to do with it. We're sitting on a very large tenement package of 250 square k's. We're located just outside the town of Armidale in central New South Wales. That gives us a huge amount of facilities available. We're on a bitumen road, we have main power, we won't need a camp, we won't need an airstrip. Attracting the workforce will be easier than a lot of operations. We have New England University, we have some of the best schools in Australia, so that's certainly going to help the cause as well. And all of these things help keep your unit costs down. We've got a dual focus on this project. So both exploration and development. We've just finished a 2,000 metre diamond drill program. We'll talk about that a bit later on because it came out with some wonderful visible gold intersections. We don't have any assays yet. But we're also doing a huge amount of metallurgical test work. We have the ability to be able to drive into our ore body and take large samples. So we've got about 5 tonnes of samples in at the moment. And instead of working on small pieces of core, we can actually sample the ore body itself from that 15 kilometres of underground development. And one of the tasks that we do have to do is permit a new tails dam. The reason this operation is on hold is that it ran out of the current tailings dam capacity. Looking at those JORC resources, as you can see, measured and indicated, nearly 1 million ounces sitting there, and a fair percentage of that will move through into reserve. This will be done in 2 stages. 3 of the zones, which account for about half of that resource, will be moved into reserve first, and then we'll have a secondary upgrade after we put some economics around those other zones. Inferred still looking good. What we're seeing in this mineralisation is a lot of coarser gold and a lot of higher grade gold as we go deeper into the systems, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. We see this as a small fraction of what's available in this field, and I think that'll become obvious. And what you'll see from Bakers Creek, some of the drilling there indicated from Bakers Creek, you see the amount of free gold that's available in there. And for many years, the gold component of this operation was actually never treated. It was caught more by accident. And one of the highlights of that is that one of the historic tails dams actually runs 1.6 grams per tonne, which is higher than most West Australian open cut operations these days, and that's what went through and wasn't caught. This will be the first time this operation runs as an antimony and a gold project where we capture both of those metals. Clark's Gully, we've just finished that program. It was following up some drill hits that have been done in 2022. Some of those hits, 200 plus grams, 500 plus grams, 100 plus grams. We haven't got any results from our drilling. We put 6 holes in to extend that zone both up, down and width-wise to see what was happening. Most of those holes we've got free gold in. We put an announcement out yesterday demonstrating that, and we're probably about 3 or 4 weeks away from getting some of those assays, but we believe that they should be pretty good. This area of Bakers Creek, it looks like a new high-grade area. It's sitting lower in the zone, so it confirms what we're thinking, and our thinking is that this ore body is like Costerfield, what you're seeing at Southern Cross Gold in Victoria and Fosterville, where the deeper you go in the system, the higher grade gold that you get. And I think what we've seen so far confirms that this is the case. This mineralisation is not in the resource at all at the moment, so we're looking for some pretty interesting upgrades in the future coming from this zone. As you can see here in the diagram, the areas that we drilled, those interesting hits from 2022 are sitting in the middle of the Bakers Creek zone in the middle of the picture there. And if I've got a zone drilling in that area there in 2022, we've drilled up here and pushed it down here. And as I say, most of our holes have got visible gold in them, so we think that that one's been a bit of a success. Across the zones, these are historic zones here of mining. It's near surface, quite a few of the zones have been mined. Our current resource sits in these areas here, underground development here, decline in, and all the development in the Mets zone here. This is where we'll start mining. It's not that far away from where we're seeing these other hits. But the interesting thing here is that all of these zones are open at depth, and we're nearer them in most cases, all open at depth. And of course the mineralisation has come from depth up, so we're pretty happy that these zones will go down. And when you look at the analogies of Southern Cross Gold and Fosterville, this is where you get the really good stuff sitting at the bottom. So we look forward to investigating some of those other zones, and Bakers Creek is a good start to indicate that these zones are going to get quite nice as we go deeper down. The test work that's undergoing at the moment, it's all about tweaking the results to add 2 or 3% to the recoveries. The recoveries for antimony have always been high 80s, low 90s. Gold, very, very similar. What we're looking at doing is trying to refine those so that we get less gold in the antimony concentrate that we produce and less antimony in the gold. The plant has never had a smooth operation because it didn't have a secondary crusher in the circuit. This had been identified pre us moving into the project, and the crusher had been bought. It's sitting there in a plastic bag ready to go. Putting a secondary in will basically allow us to double production, so we'll move to about 500,000 tonnes per annum from where it was sitting at 220. So that will help us lower unit costs and also have a much better output. We're also doing a lot of test work on the tails from the tails dam. As I mentioned, this old historic dam here, 1.5 million tonnes sitting in there, runs 1.6 gold. It also has some quite high antimony and some pretty interesting tungsten in it as well. And we're doing some test work on that to see how much of that we can get out. You know, as I say, it's higher than most West Australian gold operations, so it's quite nice. What's happened with new treatment of ore, and this dam was closed down in about 2000. Since then, the typical tails dam gold grade is about 0.3, so we know that we can get a lot more out than the 1.6 that's in that dam. As part of the underground sampling that we've taken, we've sampled across 5 drives. This has given us multiple tonnes of sample to go and do some refining test work on. Some of those samples up to 63 grams gold, 30% stibnite, and these weren't selectively taken, they were just cut to give us the best sort of grade. And if you look at the release that we put out, the best average of what's going on with the mineralisation, If you look at the release that we put out on that, you'll see that there's some exceptionally high grades exposed, ready to mine, and there's about a year's worth of underground mining already developed that is accessible at this point. So what are we doing moving on from here? We're going to release those stage 1 ore reserves, as I said. We're going to complete the plant upgrade study. That's well in tune now. We're getting some final costs in and final equipment listings, so we'll be ready to release that. We've got to permit the new storage dam facility. That's a process that has actually been moved to the local council, and we believe that that will help us move that through somewhat quicker. They understand the issues better than the state government, so we're happy to see that happen. And we'll complete our metallurgical review. That will probably take about 3 or 4 months from now to get all that metallurgical information in. We'll build that into our model and move forward. Running the model on dumbed down numbers, if you like, at the moment, it looks very, very good. It will put out about 60 to 70,000 ounces equivalent a year from a high-grade operation. So we're looking for the costs to be pretty good with that. Quickly on to other projects. We've got a very large copper project, Mount Isa. That's 1,000 square K. We finished a couple of drill programs on that last year. We've just completed a geophysics program, IP geophysics program up there that has produced some extremely interesting targets, so we've got more work to do up there. It's an early stage area, 40 kilometres east of Mount Isa and also directly north and south of the main Mount Isa mineralisation. So a lot of work, looking forward to getting on the ground this year. The wet season is just about finished. We can't quite get there at the moment, but there's lots of follow work to do there. Within Air Rare Earth project in Western Australia, we've given an initial test there, lithium drilling, interesting, probably won't follow that up in the near term, but certainly the rare earths were very, very interesting there, and we're sort of in percent grade for rare earths within clays, and there's some of the highest clay rare earth values around. We haven't spent a lot of effort on expanding that. It's obviously quite a large zone, but didn't want to focus on drilling that out until we have a metallurgical solution. We've been doing quite a bit of metallurgy on that, and with the recent results that we put out earlier this year, some very interesting things there, and we've got a bit more metallurgy to go. If we can show that we can process this mineralisation economically, then we'll put a fair bit more effort into expanding the resource in that area. In New Zealand, we have the Owakuri Gold Project. This is an advanced project. It's got about 10,000 metres of drilling in it. There's a huge amount of gold in the system, and we're seeing very large zones of mineralisation, 100 to 150 metres thick, 0.3, 0.4 type grade. Not economic in its own right, but it shows that there's a huge amount of gold in the system, and we've been looking for high-grade feeder zones to that. We did some diamond drilling on that last year. It gave us a few interesting results to think about. We need to do a bit more work. That drilling didn't quite tie in with the geophysics that we've done, and we need to understand why that is. But a lot of gold in the system. It's got to have come from somewhere. Great part of the world to work in, where we are, very easy access, and dealing with some very good landowners there as well. So all in all, pretty exciting project. Hillgrove is the focus in the near term to move that along, and what we're looking at there is the ability to produce a concentrate allows us to start talking to off-takers on that side of things. So we're looking forward in the near term to advancing those discussions with off-takers and having the ability to prepay and things like that so that we can fund ourselves for the next step. And that's the sort of news that we'll see flowing through in the very near term. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Great presentation on exciting projects. Any questions for Ron? We do have time for one or two quick. There were going to be some pre-questions. One at the back there.
Oh, thanks. What's the burn rate on Hillgrove in terms of just care and maintenance and looking after the site?
It's about 300 a month.
Okay, and any idea of the pre-production capital that you'll need to build the tailings facility?
Including tails dams and all that sort of stuff, 40 to 50 would be my guess. Know more about that in the next few months.
Okay, thank you so much, Ron.